Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the first NC Latino Community Task Force meeting of the year. I'm excited to have you all here with us as we kick off another year of collaboration and impactful work for our Latino community in North Carolina. My name is Marlene Castillo. I am the Community Development Director here at Mexican. So a little bit over the meeting that we're going to have today. So we are going to have a guest speaker this morning, and next we'll go into updates from you guys and see what's been going on from this past year and any new updates that you guys have this year, and then we'll conclude our meeting at 12 o'clock. I do want to go over the purpose of our meeting. So I'll be going over our mission and goals. So the mission of the NC Latino Community Task Force is to be the voice of the community and advocate across different sectors in North Carolina. We have three main goals: to be a multidisciplinary task force focused on Latino and marginalized issues. Second is to intensively collaborate with local community partners, community members, and federal and state representatives to educate the community on resources and any up-to-date news. And lastly, to engage in our role as leaders and have consistency in our work. As I mentioned this morning, we do have a guest speaker from NC State Institute of Emerging Issues, Tyreek Woods. Tyreek is a Salisbury, NC native who currently lives in and works in the Research Triangle. In January, he joined the Institute for Emerging Issues as a policy and program manager. The Institute of Emerging Issues serves as a nonpartisan connector, bringing North Carolinians together across sectors, regions, and perspectives to collaborate on finding solutions to the state's emerging and most critical policy issues, resulting in a more vibrant and prosperous North Carolina. He works to conduct research and convene stakeholders often at the intersection of economic development, health, education, and the built and natural environments. Currently, Tyreek is focusing on the future of energy policy and its relation to regional preparedness. Prior to joining the Institute of Emergent Issues, Tyreek worked with the James B. Hunt Jr. Institute for Educational Leadership and Policy as Associate Policy Analyst. He is a Spring 2024 Fellow from the Institute of Political Leadership and is currently serving on the Young Alumni Leadership Council for UNC Chapel Hill. Tyreek attended UNC Chapel Hill, where he studied economics and philosophy. In his free time, he plays the cello in a local orchestra and coaches youth soccer and roots for the Tar Heels. So with that, I hope you guys are able to give a warm welcome to Tyreek Woods.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much, Marlene. It's so great to be here. And thank you for having me. Thanks for going over, Marlene. Thanks for going over your mission and some of your goals. It's always inspiring to see how, communities across the state can come together to use their power to push for goals. So that's so great. And I see Vincia is there too. Hi. I am here today just to talk a little bit about the 2025 Emerging Issues Forum and how we can hopefully get more members, get more folks to join us in February. So the Emerging Issues Forum actually starts in the mid 1980s. And its goal, after being founded by Governor Jim Hunt, was to chase down challenges that North Carolina is going to face, 10, 20 years. What's going to get in the way of North Carolina's economic development and prosperity? And how can we get ahead of those challenges? So since the mid 80s, the Emerging Issues Forum has been tackling these different issues. IEI, the Institute for Emerging Issues, was founded in the early 2000s after Governor Hunt's second term. And we kind of lead the content and policy work for the Emerging Issues Forum every single year. So for the next 3 years, 2025, 26, and 27, we've decided that the most pertinent challenge that North Carolina faces is how do we upgrade our infrastructure, and what does that upgrade look like for North Carolinians? As many of you know, North Carolina is growing at an exponential rate. If current trends continue, by 2050, more than 14 million people will call North Carolina home. We will have outgrown Georgia. We'll have outgrown Ohio. We'll be the 7th most populous state in the country. And with this immense growth comes the need to upgrade our infrastructure. And this isn't just bridges and our roads, but housing and housing, and our water infrastructure and our energy infrastructure. In 2025, we're going to be covering energy. Like I said, we started with trying to narrow down what energy infrastructure policy needs to look like in North Carolina for us to be prepared for what's coming. So we set our eyes on 2050 and said, what about energy in North Carolina do we have to change if we are going to be prepared and remain economically competitive? So we narrowed down to three main buckets. Number one, how do we ensure that uh, every household and every business in North Carolina has access to affordable energy? And what does affordable energy look like? So that's our first challenge, our first big bucket. In August, we took several trips around North Carolina to see what innovative practices were being done in each of those buckets. Our first one was to Allender, North Carolina, in the northeastern part of the state, where we heard from the Roanoke Electric Cooperative. And they told us some of their innovative practices to try to keep energy affordable and accessible to their community members. The second big bucket that we'll be tackling at the Emerging Issues Forum will be workforce development. With all of these new people moving into North Carolina, with the need for all of these infrastructure upgrades, we've got to have a workforce that's prepared. The advanced manufacturing workforce, these clean energy sector workforce, nuclear workforce, engineers, we've got to make sure that North Carolina has the workforce to sustain these new energy jobs so that companies moving to North Carolina don't have to go elsewhere to find employees. We want to have them homegrown here in North Carolina, making sure that anyone who wants a job in the energy sector has access to the education, to the instructors, to the materials that they need to really engage in the energy workforce market. We went to Chatham County to hear more about efforts from VinFast, the Central Carolina Community College, to hear what strategies were they enveloping to really prepare their own community for the new 1,400 clean energy jobs that moved into their county in the matter of 3 months. I don't know about all of you, but if you say you're going to bring 1,400 new jobs, well-paying jobs, into your area, most communities will say, heck yes, bring those good paying jobs to my area. The challenge is so often, how do we turn around in 3, 5 months? How do we turn around enough community members that can supply that work? And what does that look like across the state? And then our third and final bucket is how do we support communities as we start to see these infrastructure changes across North Carolina? Companies have invested since 2016. Governor Cooper announced in December, companies have invested more than $20 billion, billion with a B, in energy infrastructure projects throughout North Carolina. And with all of that money and investment comes the need to try to get communities on board. Some of you might be familiar with the acronym NIMBY, not in my backyard. It's a sentiment a lot of people have when it comes to new things popping up in their backyard. Lots of people want nuclear energy, but not everybody wants a nuclear power plant in their backyard, right? I was introduced to a new term, banana, that stands for build absolutely nothing anywhere near anything. And this sentiment kind of expresses, um, you know, if no community ever wants new energy projects to be built in their backyard, how do we prepare? How do we keep costs down? How do we keep bringing these jobs into our areas? How do we keep this transition towards a cleaner energy sources in North Carolina? So that third bucket is, how do we start to have these conversations in communities about what they need to be on board with getting these infrastructure projects built? And what does that really look like? So after we figured out these first three buckets of challenges and opportunities for the energy infrastructure in North Carolina, we decided, hey, the next big step for us is to create impact. How do we take all of the information that we've gathered, all the policy that we've been able to perform research on, and how do we bring that to the Emerging Issues Forum for everyone across the state to engage with and have some say in what we're going to present to the public? So we decided to create an Energy Infrastructure Advisory Council. This advisory council has been tasked to work with us here at IEI to put together public policy recommendations that will disseminate throughout the state to legislators, industry leaders, educators, anyone who has input to public policy in North Carolina to really understand those three main buckets that I just talked about before. And that's where everyone across the state comes in. And we really hope to bring in a multitude uh, of different voices to the Emerging Issues Forum in February because we want your input unlike a lot of other conferences that happen throughout the state. If anybody's ever been to, one of these big conferences, a lot of times you just sit there and it's a lot of people talking at you and trying to give you a lot of information. We've kind of flipped how the emerging issues forum this year is going to look. The main goal of this is to give you enough information so that anyone across the state can give us quality feedback on these recommendations before we disseminate them to the public. And that's the real goal of the Emerging Issues Forum in 2025. Our greatest impact is going to come out of these policy recommendations that we'll be giving to anyone that we can get our hands on, that we can share these with. And so we'll be publishing those after the forum in March, about mid-March of 2025. So like I said, the Emerging Issues Forum will be on February 19th, 2025. So just shy of 4 weeks from now, we're coming up. It's crunch time to really get close to it. We've got some scholarships for folks in Eastern North Carolina. We've got scholarships for educators. We've got scholarships for students, and there's exceptional opportunity for joining us, for making some difference, for joining us in our efforts and bringing the Emerging Issues Forum to your communities, your areas. My colleague Samantha Graham is here on the call with us. She leads our community initiatives team here at IEI, who will take the work that comes out of the Emerging Issues Forum and start taking it to communities across the state. So there's ways for all of you to be involved at some part of this process to really start understanding what it's going to take to upgrade North Carolina's infrastructure. But this year we're focused on energy infrastructure. I have to say I'm a little bit biased. I think my colleague Sam just dropped in some links into the chat box. If anyone has any questions about scholarships, what scholarships are available, or how you can be more involved in the Emerging Issues Forum, I'm happy to take some questions from anyone that may have them. All right, not seeing any. I'll be
I,
on for the rest of the call.
I do have
Marlene, I
one.
will give it back over to you.
Awesome. So I'll get us started. I know it's the first meeting of the month. So first meeting and first of 2025. So they're a little shy today. But I did want to ask, how does this initiative address the unique needs of our Latino communities across North Carolina? And those that
Absolutely, that's a great question. So I think the first thing is, the accessibility and affordability challenge in North Carolina, we've seen that those affect communities of color the most. Unlike a lot of southeastern states, North Carolina in particular, households of color face unprecedented higher energy burdens. And energy burden, for anyone not super familiar, is what percentage of your annual income you're paying to utilities. And communities of color, especially Black and Hispanic communities, they face the highest energy burdens of any other group in North Carolina. So that accessibility and affordability challenge is a huge one. Another one is advanced manufacturing. In North Carolina, advanced manufacturing, the highest amount of non-white workers are Hispanic workers who are in advanced manufacturing in North Carolina. So it's a pathway that a lot of the Latino community has really jumped on here in North Carolina. So I'd say those two uniquely are situated to speak directly to those needs, but I think that there's a big challenge. How do we continue to get the word out about these new well-paying energy careers, and what does it look like to develop pathways within your community specifically for training for these jobs? So I'd say those are probably the two biggest things that I'd think of uniquely.
Thank you, Tariq.
Of
Is there
course, of course. Any other questions? And I can also speak to, any other of our policy areas. But happy to answer any about the forum too.
Tarek, this is Subencio. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Vincio. I'm doing well. How are you?
Fine, thank you. Question is around who's the audience that attends to these forums, and what are the history of some of the stakeholders attending to this conference, and why it's important for community-based organizations and local leadership attend to this conference?
Absolutely. So every year, we try to bring a multi-sector organizations to the forum. So, we try to bring in business leaders, legislators, educators, industry leads, et cetera. We try to bring in all those people, but every year we try to really identify audiences that can do the most with what they learn at the Emerging Issues Forum. So for this one, we really tried to focus on community level engagement. So what that looks like is, county and city elected officials, county and city managers, local home builders and infrastructure organizations, a lot of organizations that we've started to see uh, from community economic development commissions. Um, so we really tried to focus this forum on communities and sending people who can go back to their homes and say, here's what we need in order to upgrade our infrastructure. I think some of the most important for stakeholders, like I said before, with bringing these public policy recommendations, um, to the forum, we need the impact from community level organizations. So we've really tried to hone in on local departments of social service because they lead the low income energy assistance programs. We really tried to lean in on community colleges because they can individually sculpt their customized industry training programs. So I think those it's super important to IEI that we have local voices in the room. A lot of conversations around public policy end up happening in Raleigh, and it can be so siloed. It's so difficult to hear voices from across North Carolina. So we've really taken a focus at looking at community level organizations and how we can bring them in to the fold of these conversations. Did that answer your question, Avencio?
No, thank you. Thank you so much, Tariq. And
Of course.
I think it was important for the audience here in this group to hear who's the audience, who's the target. I had attended to this conference, and it's amazing to see different stakeholders. But now that um, IEA is focusing also to engage more with local level, local leadership, community-based organizations, I think it's important.
Absolutely. Thank you. Any other questions for me?
Just if I went over our chat box, and a lot of the people on this call are, local nonprofit organizations, small groups. Well, not small groups, but on the ground groups. So this is an awesome opportunity for you guys to join, apply for the scholarships that are available. I did see that there's 20 available. So, take advantage of that. I hope that there are more spots available maybe in the future. But yeah, is there any questions or comments for Tariq or for Samantha?
I see Rodolfo asked a question similar to Vincio's in the chat here about who's currently joining these forums. Like I said, we try to get everyone from all walks of life to the forum because it's so important that when we are here in Raleigh are trying to create these policy recommendations that we have a greater understanding about what needs are at community levels. That it's so difficult for a lot of folks uh, to hear what's going on outside of their own communities or hear what's going on outside of the Raleigh bubble. So we really try to drive in all sectors. We try to bring in folks from across the state. That's why we have these scholarships that are specifically for educators, scholarships specifically for folks from Eastern North Carolina, because it's so important that we engage every community we can to make sure that we're understanding all the different perspectives when it comes to these policies. I was talking very recently with someone who was talking about how much they hate it when we're having conversations about things that affect communities and those communities are not in the room. So we really, really want to engage everyone. Happy to answer any other questions.
The other thing that I think is important to Rick to also mention it to the group is about, we're talking about infrastructure on the local level, infrastructure in rural North Carolina. Then the representation from rural North Carolina is important on these spaces and this table to kind of bring that up to the communities, because a lot of times on this great conference, we get lost within who is the audience that needs to be on the table. And I think rural North Carolina is important. A lot of rural infrastructure is very weak and it needs a lot of work, but also people need to hear what really happens in rural North Carolina.
Absolutely. Actually, we're working on producing some data that we'll present at the forum that shows, what energy burden is the highest and where. And when we produce that, one of the really interesting things is you'll see is the energy burden in rural counties in North Carolina is about 7% higher than that of urban counties. That's an insane, jump in dollars, and it ends up being about $300 to $400 more annually in rural counties for energy that in urban counties you're paying less for. And there's a lot of things that tie into that, where we're generating energy, what the distribution looks like, what are the energy sources that we're getting, and how they're utilizing them, how much are available. So there's a lot of pieces to that of NCO, and you're speaking, directly to one of those issues that we'll be talking about at the forum. But yeah, rural counties experience higher energy burdens. A lot of folks, probably people on this call, know someone, especially the elderly, who their houses, that they've been in for 50, 60 years, might not have the most up-to-date appliances, most energy efficient appliances. And so they're paying more because of that. There's just a lot of pieces to this puzzle, and there's a lot of opportunity to make growth and really help North Carolinians here. So that's definitely one of the pieces that we'll be talking about at the forum. We've actually partnered with the NC Rural Center. One of their president is on our Energy Infrastructure Advisory Council, and we've been working with them on a series of conversations over the next 3 years on infrastructure. But it is so important that we have rural communities in the room, and that we're not just talking about rural communities, but we have them.
Thank you, Tariq. We do have one more question in the chat box from Bianca. It says, what success stories or outcomes from past forums can serve as examples for the potential impact of this year's efforts?
Absolutely. And I thought about this before, Marlene, in my bio. I started with IEI in January of 2024. I didn't just start like last week, but I am fairly new to IEI, being here for the past year. I can speak to a couple examples directly. So, one, a couple years ago, the Talent First Economics Forum produced similar recommendations to what we'll be producing, that had several different industry partnerships that came out of industry and community college work from that forum. I know that or excuse me, I don't know. I've seen the impact from forums from years ago where they've had partnerships with different state organizations, including including DHHS, the Department of Health and Human Services here in North Carolina. Sam, do you have any other examples that you want to throw out there? So I'm just on the
Yeah,
policy and
the
sorry, I'm
program
just
that
on the
I
policy
run,
team. Sam's on the community in
and
this.
NC, the digital
Yeah.
inclusion program came out of the 2020 forum that was focused on reconnecting to technological opportunities, and that was right before COVID. So out of that forum came our digital inclusion program, where we are focusing on planning across the state, with every county in the state being covered by a local level digital inclusion plan. And those will be finalized by this summer. Um, so usually out of our forum work, we have some cohorts. We're not actually doing that with this upcoming forum, but because the water forum in 2026 will be regional, we'll be hosting 3 local regional forums on the same day next year. We're going to be working in communities starting in March, working with local teams on the 3 series that Tariq has been mentioning: energy, water, and housing. So we're kind of looping all of those together for our community level work starting this spring. But there's a lot of information on our website. I've put some links in the chat, that recommendations report that Tariq mentioned from our Talent First. And there's other things, but feel free to email myself or Tariq with additional questions about any of our past work. And thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sam.
So with
Any
that,
other questions? Oh.
no, I was going to ask the same thing. Is there any final comments or questions that you guys have for the team? If not, thank you so much for joining us and sharing this opportunity. You will be seeing a Mexican there. So we look forward to attending, and we'll be sharing this in our newsletters across all our different departments so that people can take advantage of this opportunity.
Thank you so much, Marlene. Thank you all for having me. Like I said, I'm going to stick around for the rest of your meeting. So if anybody has other questions, feel free to drop them in the chat and I will jump on.
Thank you. So next we have our introductions. This is where we get to hear a little bit about everybody, where you guys are from, what organization, agency, any upcoming events or plans that you have for this upcoming year. So I'm going to start off with Claudia Garrett. Good morning, Claudia.
My name is Claudia Garrett. I'm a community health worker for UNC Health Johnston and Smithfield. I'm actually on here with our director, Georgia Anthony, and she can give a little more information about us and what we do.
Awesome. Thank you, Claudia. Good morning, Georgia.
Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Georgia Anthony, and I direct a program here at Johnston Health called Project Access. What we do is we link low income and uninsured community residents to access to healthcare services that are all donated by the hospital and providers in Johnston County and throughout UNC. We enroll patients ages 18 up to whenever. And what we do is we basically talk to them by phone. We have Claudia is one of my staff members that's bilingual. I have another one, but we're here located at the medical mall. If anyone needs any access to care or has any questions about our program, we'd happy to help you.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing and thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
Next, I have Eduardo Paez. Apologies.
Hi, yeah, my name's Eduardo Paez. I'm just at Toxic Free NC in Durham, and I just help with farm worker outreach. And so I just attended my first meeting just to see what this is about.
Awesome. Thank you for joining us this morning. Next, I have Evan Lewis. Good morning, Evan. Oh, there we go.
Good morning. I'm sorry. I had a hard time finding how to cut on my microphone. Can you all hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yeah. Well, I'm here, and I was actually part of my slowness was I was looking up a date. The I'm the current president of the board of the Disability Rights North Carolina. Vincia is one of our board members. And I'm hoping he remembers when our disability advocacy conference is and where, so he can announce that rather than me. Put him on the spot.
You really did put me on the spot. I had to look back.
Okay. I can continue to try to look it up. She caught me.
Normally the conference that happens at NC State in Raleigh. I had to look at dates what is going to happen.
Yeah, I apologize. Let me look it up and put it in the chat if you all don't mind.
No, thank you for sharing that. And then Juvencio, whenever that flyer is available, he'll share it with us and then we'll share it with our network. Thank you. So I'll go next to Francisco. Good morning, Francisco.
Hola, good morning. My name is Francisco Guzman. I'm with the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services, the Division of Child and Family Wellbeing. And I will share in the chat, we here at the division, we have a North Carolina coalition to promote insurance for children and youth. And this week is the coalition on the 16th. We are going to talk about some issues that are deeply concerned for the families with special healthcare needs. We will talk about innovation waiver, TBI, and as well CAP AD and CAP C. I will put the information in the chat. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us, Francisco. Next, I have Jaylene Harley. Sorry.
It's all good. Hi, my name is Jalen Harley. I'm representing Southeast Nonprofit Housing. We work across the state. We have offices in Lumberton, Clinton, Greenville, and we're establishing one in Rocky Mount. We work under the WIOA NFJP grant, which is the National Farm Workers Job Program. So we're working with, farm workers and their families as far as workforce and career services, and we also assist with some housing some fixing up projects that people may need to have done to better their situation. So
Thank
thank
you
you for having me.
for joining us. Next, I have Dr. Cuevas.
Hola a todos, feliz año nuevo. I'm Dr. Maximiliano Cuevas from WellCare. So as always, we are working with Medicaid, changes in Medicaid. We are also working now with P County Park Commissioner. So we have many activities. We are going to continue going to the different DSS, discussing changes in Medicaid. We also will continue uh, doing baby showers and continue serving the community with many, many activities for Black History Month, for Women's Month, so we have a lot. If you want to invite me to any of your activities, please send me an email. We have the swags and we have the time to serve the whole community.
Thank you, Max. Next, I see Mariana. Good morning, Mariana.
Good morning. My name is Mariana, and I'm the caseworker slash health educator, depending on the day, at Contentia Health Medical Clinic, located in Snow Hill, North Carolina. So we work mainly with a lot of agricultural farm workers. My main job is just finding resources for them. So something that we're doing up in like in 2025, we're sort of doing like the same thing, but what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to find more resources and I'm trying to connect with more organizations so I can provide the best assistance that I can to our agricultural farm workers.
Thank you for joining us this morning. Next, I have Rachel.
Hi, my name is Rachel Galanter, and I'm from El Futuro. And we don't have any specific events coming up, but we are expanding our community health worker mental health workforce. We're going to be providing some training to people who are interested in using their community health worker skills to address anxiety, depression, sort of general mental well-being, both in Chatham and in Durham, Wake, Orange. So if people are interested, we have a lot of positions posted and we're hoping to hire really fast. We also have an initiative for the next couple of months where we're offering free trainings in QPR, which is how to recognize warning signs that somebody might be suicidal. If your staff is interested, if your team is interested, you do not have to have a mental health focus. You just have to be worried that maybe people you know are feeling, with all the stress that's going on, they're feeling like there's no way out, and you want to be able to recognize that and help them get help. It is free. We can do it virtually, or if you're within a couple of hours of Durham, we can drive to you. It is community health workers, native Spanish speakers. They want to do this in Spanish for Latino populations to make sure people are aware how to prevent suicide by recognizing warning signs.
Thank you for sharing. And then next I have Samantha. I know you spoke, but just so you can introduce yourself and everyone can know a little bit more about you.
Hi, yeah, thank you. So Samantha Graham, I'm the Director of Community Initiatives at the Institute for Emerging Issues. So basically I'm on the programmatic side. So we have our digital inclusion work under Band and C, which is building a new digital economy in North Carolina. We work with rural faith communities as anchor institutions through a grant we have with the Duke Endowment. So also if you want to come to the forum and you're a part of a faith community, we have additional scholarships for that. Just email me. I'll put my email again in the chat so it's up a little further down. And I work with student engagement and campus engagement because we're housed at NC State University.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. And then next, I do want to introduce our team, just so you guys know who you can contact in case you have any need for the community. So I'll start off with Mexican Inc. They're able to. Good morning. My name is Jennifer Rodriguez Alvarez. I am the Director of Internship and Volunteers with that Mexican. So I'm in charge of the interns that we receive every semester and volunteers, recruiting volunteers for our outreach events. And I do have two opportunities for summer paid internships that I'll share in the chat. One is specific for UNC Chapel Hill students, and the other one is mostly for any student that is enrolled in a four-year university. But I'll share that on the chat as well. Thank you, Jennifer. Next, I have Abel. Abel, si se puede introducir con su título y su nombre.
Muchas gracias, Marlene. Soy Abel Arguello Ramírez, director de Desarrollo Económico y Asuntos Jurídicos en la Asociación de Mexicanos de Carolina del Norte. Mucho gusto a todos.
Gracias, Abel. Next, I have Bianca Perez.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Bianca Perez. I'm Director of Community Cultural Affairs with MSCAN.
Thank you, Bianca. Next, I have Elizabeth Kremer.
Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Elizabeth Medina Kramer. I'm the Director of Operations here at Mexican. I also lead the NC Latino Health Alliance. That's the last Monday of every month. Our first meeting is coming up on the 27th of January at 11 a.m. And that information will go out on our newsletter, as well as our NC Latino Research Network. That's also now bi-monthly, third Tuesday of every month at 11. Thank you.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Next, I have Manuel. Manuel, si te puedes introducir y tu título.
Hola, buenos días. Mi nombre es Manuel Olvera y soy coordinador de alcance comunitario. Mucho gusto.
Gracias, Manuel. Next, I have, Rodolfo Martinez.
Hello, everybody. Good morning. I hope everybody's doing well today. My name is Rodolfo Martinez Barron, and I lead the advocacy and civic engagement pillar here at the Association of Mexicans in North Carolina. My pronouns are he, him, él. So a little introduction about the pillar I serve. Our mission is to ensure that all Latinos have equitable representation in the areas of law, civics, and government. Some amazing updates that I have are that in collaboration with Interbank Legal Services and the North Carolina Justice Center, we will be hosting monthly deportation prevention clinics. So whether you know anyone that's in the process of being deported, is afraid of being deported because of their record, and or just wants to stay informed on how to prevent themselves from being deported, these clinics are for them and are at free of cost. I will share materials out as soon as we have them, but just let me know. I drop my name and email down in the chat box, and I look forward to the rest of this meeting. Thank you, Marlene.
Thank you, Rodolfo. And then lastly, we have Rodrigo.
¿Qué tal? Muy buenas tardes, un gusto. Mi nombre es Rodrigo Hernández Ebrard y me desempeño como director de Comunicación y Relaciones Públicas en la Asociación de Mexicanos en Carolina del Norte. Mucho gusto.
Gracias, Rodrigo. And then something I did want to mention, so a little bit of all of our team does support our education initiatives. So we are having FAFSA clinics open here at the office and virtually. It's on our link tree, and I'll be sharing that in the chat box as well. If anybody needs any assistance with applying to college, I'll let Rodolfo take over.
Yes, totally forgot about that, but we are helping students on their way to college. So whether it's majorly FAFSA, but we're also pretty much hosting one-on-one advising sessions, whether virtually or at one of our offices here in Greenville, Pitt County. Specifically, if you know or are aware of any students that are either undocumented on DACA or have any other status aside from citizenship or permanent residency, we're also eligible to better assist them as well, finding their way. It's a little bit more of an untraditional way towards college, but not impossible, and we're here to help.
Thank you, Rodolfo. And last update for a Mexican, we are partnering with ECU Dental School to be providing dental services for farm workers. Once that information and the flyer shared with us, we'll be sharing with all of you guys so that you can share with your community. It is You do have to sign up. The individual does have to sign up, and spaces are limited. But we want to make sure that you guys are aware of this so that they're able to take advantage of this opportunity. It will be in Greenville, but I know they have great services that they provide for free to the farm workers. So we'll be sharing that with you guys. And that's all I have. We ended early, but I am sharing my contact information. If you have any questions, anything you'd like to share with us in our newsletters, Bianca did share the link for our Maine Mexican newsletter in the chat. And we look forward to seeing you next month. And I see Elizabeth has her hand raised.
Yes, hi, I'm sorry. I also wanted to mention we have our conference coming up for the farm workers on February 28th as well. We will be sharing that information with you all. Anybody who works with the farm workers would like to learn more or come and share the resources, we welcome you to come and join us. It will be from 9:30 to 1:30 p.m. Lunch will be provided, but we will share that information in our newsletter as well.
Thank you, Elizabeth. And with that, we hope you guys have a great week. We look forward to seeing you guys soon. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.